Good evening, and thank you for joining us on this Halloween night. I'm Brooke Buckner.
And I'm Faith Woodard. Rolly Hoyt has the night off. 2 last-minute court rulings could mean food assistance for tens of millions of Americans next month.
Federal judges have handed a last-minute win to states suing the Trump administration over SNAP food benefits, a key program for millions of low-income families. With the government shutdown now in its 31st day, the USDA warns that funding runs out this Saturday. If the standoff continues, families could see their benefits disappear, leaving many struggling to put food on the table.
If you are in a position where you can't feed your family and you're relying on that $187 a month for an average family in the SNAP program, that we have failed you.
The administration says the funds aren't legally available, while states argue a contingency fund was meant to keep benefits flowing. Meanwhile, President Trump is urging Republicans to use a so-called nuclear option to end the Senate filibuster and pass a short-term spending bill.
All they have to do is say, let's go, let's open up our country, and everything snaps back into shape.
Democrats insist any deal must include extensions of health care subsidies to lower insurance premiums, keeping the funding fight at the center of negotiations.
But the federal judge's ruling to make the Trump administration fund SNAP likely won't kick in right away. It takes time to load EBT cards, and there's always the possibility that the administration could appeal.
THV 11's Carter Thweet joins us in studio now with what that means for Arkansas. Carter.
Yeah, guys, Governor Sanders seems confident that SNAP benefits won't kick in right away. She announced this morning $500,000 to fund food banks across Arkansas during this time. But how much will that actually help? I asked the food banks themselves.
It is helpful, yes.
Brett Blakely of Hot Springs uses SNAP every month. He's been physically disabled his entire life, struggling to use or feel the right side of his body. Plus, he struggles with persistent seizures that make it almost impossible to get a job.
People who are on SNAP right now, a lot of people need it. Who desperately need it, who cannot afford groceries on their own.
With those funds likely wiped out for at least the start of November, Governor Sanders announced Friday morning $500,000 for 6 food banks in Arkansas. That's $83,000 per bank. One of them, the Arkansas Food Bank here in Little Rock.
It feels like we're riding a roller coaster, but not sure if the tracks are underneath us.
Kate Jenkins with the Arkansas Food Bank says they've already been busier during the shutdown with unpaid government workers needing help. And it's about to get worse.
We have a conservative estimate of having 100,000 Arkansans turning to us for maybe the first time this month if SNAP benefits are not funded.
That's 12 to 13 truckloads of extra food, Jenkins says. The governor's 83,000 will cover 2 of those. One thing Jenkins and Blakely agree on, the way for this to end is for lawmakers in Washington to figure it out.
It'd be really good if they could probably live in our shoes for a little while.
Please urge your lawmakers to end the government shutdown and fund federal assistance programs. There's no way that the food banks of Arkansas will be able to hold the line.
The Arkansas Food Bank says if you'd like to help them out with the increased demand, you can donate or volunteer. They say they desperately need it. You can get started on their website, arkansasfoodbank.org.
All right, Carter, thank you. The Arkansas DHS warning that if the federal shutdown continues past next week, 1,500 more employees will be furloughed and offices across the state will close starting November 10th. Programs like SNAP, TEA cash assistance, and funds for community partners will be disrupted, and some employees are already furloughed. DHS says critical services are at risk and urges Congress to reopen the government so they can get back to helping Arkansans in need.
And the city of Little Rock is stepping up to support those impacted by the SNAP funding cutoff. Starting tomorrow, SNAP recipients will not get the money they rely on for groceries, but help is on the way. Mayor Frank Scott Jr. announced this morning the Little Rock Cares Emergency Fund is back up and running to help provide groceries and essentials to those facing food insecurity in the city.
We utilized this as a fundraising arm during the COVID-19 pandemic, as well as the March 31st, 2023 high-end EF3, where we're able to raise large amount of dollars, whether it be from the city, the state, or the nation at a tax-deductible rate, to then utilize it for good.
The mayor says nearly 36,000 people in Pulaski County rely on SNAP assistance. You can make a monetary donation on the city's website, littlerock.gov/LRcares.
And the Arkansas Food Bank is holding its 6th emergency food distribution for federal and state workers since the start of the shutdown. It runs tomorrow from 9 a.m. to noon at St. Mark Baptist Church, and a valid government ID is required.
Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, it is the Super Bowl for the kiddos out there. It is Halloween. Trick-or-treaters, and they need nice weather, and they're going to get it. Yes, they are. This is the view outside with a few high-level clouds and a helicopter. Yeah, there in the distance flying by on the screen. I don't know if you can see it there, Faith and Brooke, but it was flying across.
Away.
I thought it was a fly at first. Oh, no, that's a helicopter. But the high-level clouds will have a minor impact in your forecast tomorrow. But for those of you getting geared up to go trick-or-treating here in just a few minutes, temperatures are currently in the 60s, and they're going to drop off from the 60s into the 50s. Here is that Halloween forecast. You know, there will be some that will be out and about after 8 o'clock. Have that lightweight jacket handy, maybe a sweater or something thicker. Readings falling back into the upper 40s by tomorrow morning. That's your Halloween forecast. Here's your weekend outlook. Tomorrow, clouds, a brief shower, possible 61. I've got a weather impact advisory for early Sunday, and I'll explain why here in just a few minutes. Back to you.
A Bradley County jury finding a local pastor not guilty Thursday. Rocky Goodwin facing charges of distributing, possessing, or viewing material depicting sexually explicit conduct involving a child.
THV 11's Maya Ellison was there last night as she walks us through the trial and the family's response.
14 jurors, including 2 alternates, sat through 2 days of testimony, hearing from witnesses and both sides of the case. It wasn't until Thursday evening when a decision was made. After about an hour and a half of deliberations, the jury returned a not guilty verdict on all counts against Warren pastor Rocky Goodwin. Inside the courtroom, family and friends became emotional after the decision was read.
We had put this in the Lord's hand, and we knew, and so just tears of thank you, Jesus.
Goodwin, who led Calvary Baptist Church, was arrested last year after Microsoft tips led investigators to a laptop found inside his home. State police testified they found dozens of images classified as child sexual abuse material.
I'm representing an 87-year-old man whose laptop that he didn't even realize he had because he had bought it for his grandson got hacked.
Investigators from the State Police Digital Evidence Lab testified that while some files showed signs of a virus, the computer itself was not infected. The defense argued malware or hacking may have placed the files there.
And so when it went to the state police and they did the forensic review, they did not even try to get into the actual laptop. Instead, they made a copy of the contents so that the malware would not infect.
Family members testified Goodwin had little computer experience.
We knew Dad's incapability of navigating a laptop, and he just couldn't do it. We knew that. He's incapable.
A family friend testified the email linked to the computer was hers, saying she, quote, probably set it up for Goodwin's great-grandson. Defense records showed some files were modified April of 2023, but witnesses, including his son, confirmed he wasn't home. The jury asked the judge for timestamps on one of those files before delivering their verdict Thursday evening.
We've had to wait for the truth to come out, and it's hard, it's difficult. And it's just like the weight of the world was taken off your shoulders in that moment, in that one moment.
And as for next steps, Mr. Goodwin's son tells me their focus isn't to point the finger and find who is to blame for the said crimes. Instead, he tells me that as a family, they're hoping to put this behind them and move forward. In Warren, Maya Ellison, THV 11 News.
All right, thank you, Maya. A Camden teenager is behind bars in connection with a deadly shooting earlier this month. It happened October 19th at an apartment in Fort Lookout Manor. Officers found 22-year-old Kamaria Wilson suffering from a gunshot wound. She was rushed to the hospital but died a few hours later. State police took over the investigation and 2 days later arrested 17-year-old Micaiah McLean. He faces charges of first-degree murder and tampering with evidence. McLean is now in a juvenile detention facility in Pine Bluff.
House District 70 will get a special election sooner than planned. After Representative Carlton Wing resigned, Governor Sanders set the election for June 9th, leaving the district unrepresented for the April legislative session. But a Pulaski County judge ruled the election must be held March 3rd, saying officials can handle ballots, including absentee and overseas votes. That means District 70 residents will have a voice in the upcoming budget session.
And here's a heads up for drivers. Starting today, Arthur Lane will be closed between Atkins Road and Gamble Road for about 3 weeks for new curb, gutter, and asphalt work. Homeowners in the area can still access their property, but through traffic will need to use detours. Eastbound drivers can go Gamble to Archer or Canis, and westbound drivers can go Atkins to Archer or Canis. Plan ahead and expect delays.
It's that time of the year again where we fall back because it's the end of daylight saving time, but some health experts want to stop the time change.
Jared Hill has more on how to cope with it.
Everyone has an opinion about changing the clocks.
I do like waking up with the sun in the morning, but it sucks having the dark nights. I think we should get rid of it.
It's really depressing. I'll gladly trade having sun at 6 a.m. for having it at 6 p.m.
Most Americans are not in favor of daylight saving time. The American Academy of Sleep Medicine is among groups urging lawmakers to eliminate seasonal time changes and enact permanent standard time.
On permanent standard time, we have more light in the morning, and we know that morning light is best for our mood and for our health. The second reason is that darkness in the morning actually has some safety risks. The third reason is because the alignment of the rising and setting of the sun is more consistent with our internal clock, people sleep better.
Poor sleep contributes to chronic health issues, including cardiovascular disease, diabetes, obesity, as well as anxiety and depression. While some experts say the autumn change can be easier to manage, there are still some tips to make falling back feel a bit better. That starts with getting at least 7 hours of sleep at night before and after the time change, and maintaining a consistent sleep schedule.
Adjust the timing of your daily routines and time cues right away starting on Sunday. Set your clock back 1 hour the evening before the time change so that when you wake up, it's easy to get on that new schedule. And then spend some time outdoors, get that morning light.
Bright light will help set your internal clock to the time change, which will help with sleep and being alert. Jared Hill, CBS News, New York.
2 states, Arizona and Hawaii, are currently on permanent standard time in the United States, and experts say there's already some evidence that not changing the clocks works for people.